is that time weekend. I'm Chef Nicolas. Let's just jump into it. This is kind of funny week because I feel like I made a lot more mistakes this week. And it happens. To start this off, one of my clients asked for, well, a beef Wellington. Now here's the thing, I'm not fully okay with it because of the whole plant paradox thing. Funny enough, that's because in the book it talks about lectins and grains have lectins. And traditionally, beef Wellington has, well, puff pastry, which is lectins. It's a work in progress. As you know, I already changed up this dish. Now I used to do beef Wellington every 2 days back in 2008 when I was working at Safeco Field. So I know a thing or two about beef Wellington, but we'll say I'm pretty rusty. So traditionally in a beef Wellington, they usually have a thing what's called duxelle. Now normally what you do is you get the mushrooms, you cook it, and you can chop it up or throw it in a processor. Usually it's in a processor beforehand, then cooked into a pan, and then you keep cooking it until you get all the water out. There's a reason for that. So first what I did was I got my flank steak and I got my knife and I turned it into a roll. And I got some fresh basil and a bit of mint. Chopped that up and actually added a little olive oil into it and some salt, and then laid it all out onto the thing and rolled it back up together. Of course, I got the mushrooms and I cooked beforehand, but I didn't actually cook all the water out because I was like, it won't matter, doesn't matter. Now beforehand, what I did was I got some green onions and I grilled that. Then after I got that done, I got my flank steak and wrapped it with puff pastry and then put some egg wash in it and I threw it in the oven to get that beautiful color, of course. And then right towards the end, I threw in my green onions, and then funny enough, this is like, it's, oh my god, it's beautiful, wow, oh, this is interesting, it's much bigger than usual. So as I'm getting to the point of getting ready to plate up, this is what happened. I cut it and all this juice comes out, and I knew exactly what happened. And it was because of being rusty, I forgot why it was important to get rid of all the water in the mushrooms. You've got to cook all that out because it'll steam the bloody, puff pastry and then make it bigger, which will make it look cool and stuff. But here's the thing, it's gonna steam inside. Duh. Yep, and that's why my beef Wellington looked like this. So now you'll know to always cook the mushrooms and get all the water out. It's important. There's a key factor to it. Well, that's why I guess they call it duxelle. Now this dish is the first time I've actually used shorter boar in my cooking career, which is kind of cool. Now what I did to do this dish was quite simply this. I grabbed my boar shoulder, threw it into my smoker for at least 30 minutes to get a nice slow smoke. Then I got sesame seed leaves and I blanched that off beforehand. Well, I blanched it off and then I cooled it and then threw it into the blender with a little bit of lime juice and some salt. It tasted great. At this point, I grabbed my boar and I threw it in the oven. Then afterwards, I got purple kohlrabi, cut that up, and then I also got Chinese squash, which I've never used before, which is actually kind of interesting. It's got a thick texture in the outside, so I actually ended up peeling it, and then I took out the seeds because they looked way too big and you don't want to eat that. It was very squishy like a sponge, very interesting texture. But yes, it did taste like normal squash. I was like, there's nothing special about this thing. It's big. And then at that point, I finished in the pan and then added some Swiss chard to it and plated it up. Boom, 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 boom. Now don't let the color deceive you on this. This is my kind of take on a Mexican stir fry. Well, sort of. First I got cactus, which I found out my client doesn't actually like. But I changed his mind. First thing you usually do is you take out the spikes. But I gotta tell you this story. Back when I was working the Four Seasons Hotel in Chicago, there was this guy called Bess, and he hated, breaking down cactus. Literally, this is what he would do. Anytime he didn't like doing a task, he would do this. Now, I kid you not, what was so funny about this guy, and I'll never forget it, he is straight as a whistle, but he had a gay accent. So someone asked him in the kitchen, and we're all thinking this, because, we're like, okay, this guy is clearly straight in how he acts, but why does he have this gay accent? So one of the guys, because he's not native from this country, said, hey, where did you learn your English best? So he literally just brightens up and he goes, oh, where I learned my English was from this gay guy, and he was so much fun. I had so much fun learning English from this guy. So the reason I told you this is every time I do cactus, I literally remember this guy in my head. I'm like, because it's so strange, but also really funny to think about. I'm like, man, that is interesting. I didn't know that could work like that. At this point, I grabbed my cactus, threw it in the pan, and added some water and some turmeric to it. Boiled it, and then threw it into the blender. And that was going to be my sauce for my chicken stir fry. Yeah, my chicken stir fry. Then I chopped out some veggies, and then at this point I got my chicken and chopped that up as well. First I cooked the chicken into the pan, and then I dropped it into my cactus sauce to get a little more flavor to it, so it could seep into it. And then right towards the end, when I've got my veggies cooking in the pan, added my chicken to it, and boom bam, that was pulled right into a plate. Now for my last dish, and this is probably my favorite one out of all of it. Just the pictures are incredible. Jesus. Surprising enough, native to my country is Tasmanian pepper. I actually never made dressing out of it before, so I was like, might as well give it a go. Now, if you don't know, Tasmanian pepper is very, it creates a numbing feeling to your body, your mouth, and it can be, quite crazy, yeah, crazy, they say. Well, I'd say intense. That's more the right word. So literally what to do to get that intensity away is you have to boil it for a very long time or cook it in something for a very long time to get that intensity out. So I boiled it for a while with some white wine vinegar and ice wine. Well, ice wine was at the end, but we'll get to that. Then we got that going until it was like nice and squishy into a sponge. At that point I threw it into a blender and I blended it up and then added my ice wine vinegar. God, amazing. And a little bit of olive oil, which now I won't use grapeseed oil because of the plant paradox. Thank you. You're ruining everything. But yes, that was the first time I used it as a dressing, and I was actually quite impressed. So at this point, I just grabbed my frisée, my pea vines, and I broke it up and mixed it into a bowl with my Tasmanian pepper dressing. And then added in my pickled red onions. I love pickled red onions, I won't lie. And then added in the dry freezed raspberries. And that was plated up. Boomba. Alright guys, you know the drill. I'm Chef Nicolas Ganea. Don't forget to click the like button if you like this video. And if you want to stay up to date and see our weekly videos we put out every Wednesday, you can click the icon up here if you're on mobile. Or you can click the icon over here if you're on desktop, which will take you to our page. And all you have to do is click the like button. Alright guys. We'll see you next week. Yep. Oh yeah, I should mention, I do post on Information Cuisine if you want some other cool content there as well, which I put a little side notes of things that I learnt, and you can't put it all in one video. It's just too much work. Anyway, peace guys. Oh yeah, I've been hanging out in Quora a lot, guys. I didn't realize how powerful this thing is. Just answering people's questions. At first I was doing, because I'm really bad at spelling, I'm using like, Alexa, spell the. See? Not that word as an example, but this, I use it a lot to spell things, which leads me to, how do I say this? Making a lot of grammar mistakes. So there's a lot of grammar Nazis, and I get tired of it. I'm like, forget it, I'll just do videos. Because it's much easier for me. And sure enough, it's working. I pumped out so much video instead of just putting, let me give you an example. I will do one article, which will take me about 2 to 3 hours, And then I was pumping out, just the other day, I pumped out 10 pieces of content in like an hour. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stick to the video. Much easier. So much easier than, typing. Just saying. Anyway, see you guys next week. Peace!